All right. Welcome to another narration of mine. Settle in for a moment. This is where the voices I carry meet the version of the truth most people avoid, and where the things we uncover tend to stay with us long after the story ends. Only the brave souls and the fearless ones stay until the end. Okay, so before I even start this, I don't want comments asking for a link. I'm not sharing it. Not because I'm scared. I'm way past that. I'm not sharing it because if even one person goes through what I did after watching it, I'll never forgive myself. I know how it sounds already. Oh, wow. Another dark web story. Another spooky video. That's what I thought, too, when my buddy sent me the .zip file. This started about 4 months ago. My friend Chris, who I've known since high school, hit me up on Discord around 3:30 a.m. I remember the time because I was at my desk playing Tarkov, and he never messages me unless it's something weird. All he said was, "You still into that conspiracy shit?" I replied, "Yeah, why?" "You ever heard of Vortex File 12? I hadn't. I told him no. And then he dropped this massive, compressed folder into our chat. 6.7 gigabytes. No message, no explanation. The file name was AFS-12 leaked. I asked him what the hell it was, and he just wrote, "Don't watch it if you've taken anything. Be stone sober. Headphones. Lights off. Alone." Now, I've done enough of the deep web crap to know that 90% of it is fake, or just shock stuff. Dead pigs, cartel beheadings, weird fetish videos. Nothing new. I'm not bragging, just saying I've been desensitized to this stuff. But there was something off about how Chris was acting. He wasn't hyping it up. He wasn't trying to scare me. He was just quiet, direct. I asked him, "Is it fake?" He said, "No, but you'll wish it was." I opened the zip. Inside was just one .mp4 file called room43.b. Footage _6_12_2013.mq4 and a small .txt file called read first. The .txt file was useless, just a list of coordinates somewhere in Nevada, and a file tag that said, "Property of USAF. Do not duplicate. Eyes only." 435.b. I thought it was going to be a prank, like a long build-up to a screamer, or one of those fucked up meat circus videos. You know the type. But this was different. I put on my headphones, turned off the lights, full screen. The video starts in what looks like a white room, completely empty. Bright overhead fluorescent lighting. You can see the hum of it in the video. Kind of a high-pitched ring if you turn the volume up. The camera is fixed, like from the upper corner. Standard security cam view. Timestamp says June 12th, 13:14, 3329. There's a metal table in the middle, stainless steel. A woman's already in the room, sitting in a chair. She looks maybe mid-30s. Blonde, military haircut, expressionless, just staring ahead. She's in what looks like a white scrub uniform, but it's torn near the waist. There's blood dried around her midsection, and her feet are bare and filthy. No sound at first, just that high whine from the lights. I thought maybe it was a psych eval or some MK Ultra leftover footage. But after a minute or so, something else enters the frame. A man, lab coat, clipboard. He's standing behind the glass. It's a two-way mirror. You can see him adjusting something on a panel. He presses a button. Now this is the first part where I really started paying attention. The door to the room doesn't open. Instead, the back wall slowly folds in, like it's made of layers. Hard to explain. Like the wall was made of paper folded into itself 100 times, and now it was unfolding like origami in reverse. Out of that folded space, two people walk in. Except, I don't think they were people. They're dressed like men. Same white scrubs. But their movements are just slightly off. One of them turns his head all the way around without moving his shoulders. The other keeps blinking. Too much. Like once every second. Big, exaggerated eye twitches. They sit on either side of the woman. Don't say a word. The man behind the glass speaks into a mic. Subject 435B. Begin procedure. The woman doesn't react, but the two figures start humming. A weird, low droning. It didn't sound like music. More like when you put your ear against a metal pole and you hear the vibrations from far away. It builds slowly. Now, this is the part I don't know how to describe without sounding insane. The woman starts convulsing, but not like a seizure. Her limbs don't jerk. They pull, like something inside her is yanking tendons too tight. Her right leg lifts, stays suspended. Her eyes roll back, but not white, black. Not the fake digital black you get from video editing. This looked deep, like her eyeballs had been scooped out. She starts to scream. Not words, just pure panic. Then, her stomach starts to move. Not like breathing, not like digestion. Her skin stretches outward in one spot, like something's inside her. You can actually see handprints pressing out from under her skin. Small ones, like a child's. 5 fingers. Then 6. Then 7. The thing inside her claws from within. And her skin just gives. It tears open like wet tissue. No blood at first, just steam. Thick, slow clouds pour out of her like smoke from a burning engine. Then, something crawls out of her. I had to pause the video there. I swear to God, I was sweating like I had the flu. But I made myself keep watching. What came out looked like a fetus at first. Slick, red, undeveloped. But it kept growing. Right there on the floor. Like it was sucking moisture from the air. Stretching. Limbs cracking into shape. Its jaw unhinged and reset. Then it stood up. Naked. Pale. And too tall. It didn't have eyes, just skin where they should be. The mouth didn't move, but you could see inside, like its skin was thin enough to see through if the light hit right. One of the men in scrubs says something to it in a language I couldn't recognize. Not Latin, not Hebrew, just syllables. The creature walks to the glass. And this is the part that fucked me up for good. It looks into the camera, not the mirror, not the people in the room, the camera. And then my screen flickers, just once, like static. Then everything goes back to normal. But now the timestamp's wrong. It says July 14th, 1997. And it's a different room. Different camera angle. This one's darker. A single hanging bulb. But the same creature is in the middle of the frame. Only now, it's not alone. There are kids. At least 5 of them. Tied up. Their eyes covered. Gags in their mouths. One is crying. Like barely making any sound. Just these little hiccup sobs. The creature walks over to the smallest one. Maybe 4 years old. And it reaches down. I turned it off. I didn't even try to scrub through it. I didn't want to know what happened next. I sat there for a long time, just listening to the silence in my apartment. Chris hadn't messaged me again. I checked his profile. Gone. Not deleted. No message. Just gone. My Discord froze for a full minute when I tried to DM him. No joke. Like the app itself bugged out. I restarted it. Tried calling his number. Dead tone. The next morning, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Just a USB inside. Same file. No note. Just the video. Again. I haven't touched it since. But I know it's not over. Because now, every few nights, my apartment smells like the room in that video. Burnt metal and rotten meat. And 2 days ago, someone left a Post-it on my kitchen table. In handwriting I didn't recognize. It just said, Subject 4, 36B, confirmed. Procedure pending. I didn't sleep after finding the Post-it. Not in the dramatic way people say that. I lay on the couch with my shoes on, TV muted, lights on, phone face down. Every normal noise in my apartment felt louder than it should have been. Pipes shifting. The fridge clicking. A car alarm somewhere far away that kept going way too long. The Post-it didn't make sense on its own. There was no forced entry, no broken window. Nothing moved. My wallet was still on the counter. Laptop untouched. Whoever left it didn't rush. They knew where the kitchen table was. They knew where to place it, so I'd see it first thing. I bagged the USB from the package and drove it to work with me. I work it for a mid-size medical billing company. Boring place. Beige walls, fluorescent lights, old coffee smell, baked into the carpet. Safe. I figured if something happened, it wouldn't happen there. Around noon, I plugged the USB into an isolated machine in the server room. No internet connection. No network access. I just wanted to confirm the file hadn't changed. It had. Same file name. Same length. But the timestamp was updated to 2 hours earlier. That shouldn't be possible. The USB had been in my backpack the whole time. Zipped. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't even opened the bag since leaving my apartment. I opened the video again. I told myself I'd skip ahead. I didn't. This part was different footage, different quality. Handheld camera. The shaking made my teeth clench. Whoever was filming was breathing hard. You could hear their boots crunching on gravel. Nighttime desert. Wind pushing dust across the lens. There was a fence line in the distance, not the stereotypical tall fence with signs. This one was low, ugly, half buried. Like it had been there longer than anyone remembered. The cameraman whispers, "This isn't on the maps." Then gunfire. Close. Automatic. Someone yells. The camera drops. You hear flesh hit dirt. A wet sound. The lens ends up sideways, pointed at the sky. A body falls into frame. A man. Military. His leg is bent wrong. His face is still moving. Mouth opening and closing. Trying to talk. Blood pooling into the sand like it's being swallowed. Something steps over him. Not fast. Not stalking. Casual. Like it knows nothing there can stop it. I paused again. My hands were shaking so bad, I had to sit on them. I closed the file and yanked the USB out. That's when the server room badge reader beeped. Someone was trying to get in. I held my breath. The handle rattled. Again. Slower. Like whoever it was didn't care if they got caught on camera. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer. I muted it. The ringing stopped. 10 seconds later, the badge reader beeped again. This time, it unlocked. I hid behind the rack. I know that sounds stupid, but panic makes you dumb. 2 men walked in, not armed, no uniforms, jeans, hoodies. One of them was chewing gum. They didn't look around like burglars. They went straight to the terminal I'd used. The taller one frowned at the screen. He saw more than he should have. The other guy shrugged. That's happening a lot lately. They unplugged the USB from the machine and put it in a plastic pouch. Then they wiped the keyboard, mouse, and chair with practiced speed. I waited for them to leave. They didn't. The gum guy sniffed the air. "You smell that?" My stomach turned. Burnt metal, rotting meat. "Yeah," the taller one said. "He's close." They looked straight at my hiding spot. I ran. I slammed through the emergency exit and took the stairs 2 at a time. My badge didn't work on the ground floor gate. I jumped it and bolted into the parking lot. I didn't look back. I got in my car and floored it. I didn't care where I went. I just needed distance. About 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. Same unknown number. I answered this time. A woman's voice, calm, tired, like a customer service rep near the end of a double shift. "Please stop running," she said. "You're making this harder on yourself." I asked her what procedure meant. She was quiet for a second. Then she said, "It means confirmation. It means you were compatible." Compatible with what? She didn't answer that. Instead, she said, "The footage wasn't leaked. It was released. We needed to see who could watch without looking away too soon." I told her I shut it off. "You paused it," she corrected. "You came back." I hung up. When I got home, my apartment looked normal. But the smell was stronger now. In the bathroom, in the closet, like something had been there for hours. There was a new post-it on my monitor. This one had a time written on it. Tomorrow, 9 p.m. Under it, a second line. "Bring clean clothes." I threw up in the sink. Not from fear, from the smell. I don't think I'm being hunted. I think I'm being processed. I didn't go to work the next day. I didn't call in sick either. There was no point pretending things were normal when they clearly weren't. I spent the morning doing stupid human things, like washing dishes and taking out trash, like that would somehow anchor me. I packed a duffel bag with clean clothes, like the note said. Jeans, hoodie, underwear, toothbrush. I stood in my bathroom for a long time, staring at myself in the mirror, trying to figure out what exactly they saw when they looked at me. I didn't look special. I didn't feel special. Just tired and dirty and stuck inside my own head. At 8:40 p.m., my phone rang. Same number. This time, I answered immediately. "Go outside," the woman said. Same voice as before. No edge, no threat, just instruction. I asked her where we were going. She said, "You already know." I didn't, but I went anyway. There was a white utility van parked across the street. No markings, no plates on the front. The side door was already open. Inside were 2 seats bolted to the floor, facing each other. And nothing else. No windows. The smell hit me immediately. Not rotten this time. Sterile. Chemical. Like a hospital mixed with something industrial. The driver didn't look back when I climbed in. He didn't say anything. Neither did the guy sitting across from me. He was maybe my age, early 30s, shaved head, sweat stains under his arms. He kept rubbing his wrists like they were raw. The van started moving. I tried talking to him, asked his name, asked how long he'd been in the program. He stared at the floor the whole time. About 15 minutes in, he started laughing. Not hysterical, just short little bursts. Like something was funny, but he didn't want it to be. "They told me I was lucky," he said finally. I asked him what he meant. "They said most people don't make it past review," he said. "They said I should be proud." I asked him what review was. He looked at me then, really looked. His eyes were bloodshot. Veins burst around the edges, like he hadn't slept in days. "They see how much of you survives," he said. "Not your body, the other part." The van slowed. The laughter stopped. We drove through a gate that didn't have guards, just scanners. Bright white lights washed over the inside of the van. I felt pressure in my ears, like being underwater for a split second. When the doors opened again, we were underground, concrete corridors, long, narrow, painted that ugly institutional green that's supposed to calm you down, but never does. People in scrubs walked past us, clipboards tucked under arms, eyes forward. Nobody acknowledged us. We were escorted into separate rooms. Mine looked like a locker room at first glance. Bench, lockers, a drain in the center of the floor. A woman in scrubs told me to undress. I hesitated. She didn't threaten me. She didn't rush me. She just waited. I did it. They took everything. Clothes, phone, wallet, even my wedding ring. I asked if I'd get it back. She said, "If it's still relevant." They sprayed me down with something cold that made my skin itch for hours after. Then they handed me a thin gray uniform and led me deeper. The next room wasn't white. It was dark, lit by red lights along the ceiling. There were glass partitions separating small cubicles. Inside each one was a person, some sitting, some rocking, some just staring straight ahead. I recognized one of them, Chris. He was thinner, hair patchy, lips cracked and bleeding. His eyes locked onto mine, and his mouth opened, but no sound came out. A man behind the glass wrote something on a clipboard and shook his head. "Vocal degradation," he muttered. "Still aware, though." I tried to reach him. Hands grabbed my arms and pulled me back. "That one's past intake," someone said. "You're not there yet." They put me in a chair with restraints on my wrists and ankles. A screen lowered in front of me. Not the same footage as before. New clips, different rooms, different years. People breaking down in ways I didn't know were possible. One clip showed a man biting chunks out of his own arm, while two things that looked human kept asking him questions in calm voices. Another showed a woman being asked to describe her childhood, while something behind her kept rearranging itself, limbs popping and sliding like joints didn't matter. Every time I looked away, someone would force my head back. "Stay present," a voice said over the speakers. "This determines classification." After hours, maybe days, they shut the screen off. A man stepped into the room. Older. Military posture. No clipboard. "You watched longer than most," he said. "You didn't beg. You didn't dissociate. I asked him what that meant. He leaned in close enough that I could smell his breath. Mint gum. Coffee. It means you can carry them, he said, and still function. I asked who them was. He smiled. Not cruel, almost relieved. The ones that don't fit anywhere else. They wheeled me down another hallway after that, past rooms that were too loud, past rooms that were too quiet. At the end was a room with no chairs, just a platform in the center, and restraints hanging from the ceiling. The lights flickered on, and something moved inside the walls. I don't know what moved inside the walls, but I knew it wasn't machinery. There were no pipes, no buzzing, no pistons hissing or vents opening. It didn't make noise like a thing made by people. It sounded wet, like something pulling itself across concrete, dragging its own weight in pieces. The room was freezing. Every breath I took hung in the air. The red lights on the ceiling switched to white. No flicker this time, just a solid, humming flood of light that made everything look sterile and raw. I was alone. There weren't any guards. No woman with a clipboard. No voice in a speaker telling me to follow instructions. Just that platform. And those straps. Then the wall opened. Not like a door. It just split. Seamless concrete peeling back like it had never been real to begin with. Two people in hazmat suits walked in. Their visors were blacked out. Their suits weren't normal yellow either. More like bluish gray. Thick. Rubberized. Nothing exposed. Between them, they dragged something in a metal container. Waist high. No markings. The edges had handprints worn into them. Some small, some far too large. One of the hazmats looked at me and said, "Flat. Step onto the platform." I didn't move. I was still stuck on the container. It was making noise, not banging, not scratching. It was like breathing, but too fast. "Step onto the platform," the second one repeated, like they were reading off a script. I stepped up. The straps moved on their own. Some kind of automated rig, wrapped around my ankles, chest, wrists. Not tight enough to hurt, just enough to let me know they weren't for show. The container unlocked. No code, no sound. Just a hiss of air and a rising stench of copper and old water. I've smelled blood before. This was worse. This was deep blood. Not from cuts, something older than that. The thing inside, I don't know how to explain it. It didn't lunge. It didn't crawl. It poured out. Like smoke with weight. Like oil, trying to form limbs and failing. The hazmats backed away, fast. One of them hit a panel on the wall, and the opening sealed behind them. The thing hovered in front of me. No eyes, no face. It just hovered. Then it lunged. Not at me. Into me. I can't describe the pain. Not honestly. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't heat, or ice, or stabbing. It was pressure, like every organ I had was being held and examined. Not crushed, fingered through, like it was flipping through my memories one at a time, seeing if any of them were worth keeping. It screamed, but not out loud. It screamed inside me, and my thoughts started getting tangled. I thought about my mom's funeral, and I felt laughter. I thought about my dog dying, and I got hard. I thought about sex and threw up. It was rewiring something in me on accident, or maybe on purpose. I blacked out. When I woke up, I wasn't on the platform anymore. I was in a room with glass walls, not like a cage, more like a display. I was lying on a steel table. No clothes. Something was stitched into my chest. Not deep, just under the skin. You could see the ridge of it moving if I breathed too hard. There was a mirror on the opposite wall. Real mirror. Not glass. But I couldn't see myself. The mirror refused to show me. Not glitching, not delayed, just didn't show anything. Like I was being edited out live. An older man came in. Not military, civilian clothes, suit jacket. Looked exhausted. Pale, like he hadn't seen the sun in weeks. He set a folder down on the table beside me. Carrier 436 Bicho, he said. That was me. I knew it now. The number matched the post-it. You lasted 9 minutes longer than the previous subject, he continued. That's the current record. I asked him what was inside me. He gave a tired smile. Something we found under Yucca Flats in '73, deep under the test site. We thought it was geological at first, until it moved. I asked why they needed carriers. Containment isn't stable anymore, he said. You people, your kind, can wear them for a while. A few months, maybe. Sometimes more. Long enough for study. I asked what happened when the time ran out. He didn't answer right away. He looked up at the ceiling, rubbed his eyes. The same thing that happened to the guy before you. He slid the folder closer to me. I looked inside. It was all surveillance photos. Of me. Not from now. From years ago. Different apartments, different cities. One was from 2015. I recognized the hoodie. I thought I'd lost it on a trip. They'd been watching me long before the file, before Chris. I told him I didn't want it in me. Whatever it was, I said I'd rather die. He nodded, slow, like he'd heard that one before. That's what they all say, he said. And then it starts whispering. I asked who they were, the things they'd been putting in us. He said something I still haven't been able to forget. They're not from somewhere else. They're from under. The footage, the files, they're not leaks. They're trail markers. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't want to know. He handed me a pill bottle, plain white, no label. You'll start seeing double soon, he said. That's when you take the first one. If you don't, it'll tear your mind trying to leave. I asked what happened to people who couldn't handle it. He said, "They split, and then we burn the halves." Before he left, he turned back once and said, "Whatever it shows you, don't write it down. Don't speak it out loud. That's how it learns to grow limbs." The lights dimmed again, and the thing inside me started moving. Not just physically, in my thoughts. I don't know how long I stayed in that room. They don't use clocks down there. I couldn't tell if it was day or night. The lights didn't change. The air always felt the same. Thick, recycled, like breathing through cotton, soaked in rubbing alcohol. The thing inside me wouldn't stop shifting. At first, it was slow, like a parasite adjusting to a host. But after the third injection, they gave me some kind of pale blue fluid that made the veins in my neck burn. It got bolder, hungrier. I stopped sleeping. Not because of fear. It just wouldn't let me. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw things that didn't belong in my head. Faces half-grown. Screams slowed down until they sounded like language. Not words, just intent. At one point, I think it tried to speak through me. My jaw locked for hours, teeth grinding until they cracked. Blood soaked the pillow they gave me. It wasn't trying to escape. It was practicing. They moved me to a lower floor after that. I don't know how deep it goes. At least 10 levels below where I came in. The halls down there aren't even finished. Just raw stone with concrete sprayed over it, like they gave up halfway through building. The air smelled worse down there. Less chemical. More organic. Like something had died recently, but no one cared to clean it up. My new room had no bed, no toilet, no mirror. Only a chair with leather straps and a vent in the ceiling that dripped once every minute. I timed it. It helped keep me sane for a while. Then came the second file. They never showed me screens again. This time, it was a wall. A blank wall that turned into a projection surface. Footage started without warning. This one wasn't surveillance. It was recorded. Handheld. Night vision. Wind blowing across the mic. The date stamped at the top wasn't from this year or last. September 3rd, 1974. The file showed a concrete chamber with steel beams and a pit in the middle. No railing, no safety gear. A group of soldiers, 5 or 6, standing around the edge, weapons slung, helmets off. They were sweating. You could tell, even in black and white. One of them was reading off a clipboard, shaking like he was freezing. He kept repeating the same phrase. "We have verified the site has no measurable depth. Subject confirmed as vertical infinite anomaly." Then something began climbing up. Slowly. Not crawling. Just forming itself along the walls. A face slid out of the side of the pit like it was oozing up from below. No eyes, no mouth. Just the shape of a face. One soldier screamed and fell in. No one moved to help. No one even looked down. The file ended right after that, just cut to black. But the projection stayed on, showing text this time. All carriers will be taken below for integration. And then, if you are still able to understand this, you are not yet ready. 2 days later, at least I think it was 2, I woke up bleeding from my nose and ears. The thing inside me had grown nerves. I could feel it running its thoughts alongside mine, like static in a conversation I didn't start. They stopped giving me the injections. No explanation. No visits. I began to hear other people screaming at night. Not from my hallway, from inside my head. A boy's voice. A woman sobbing. A man repeating numbers in a language I didn't recognize. The voices weren't memories. They were recordings from someone else, stored inside me. That's when I realized what carrier actually meant. We weren't hosts. We were servers, living hard drives. They weren't studying the things. They were archiving them, saving pieces, consciousness, memories, whatever was salvageable from the lower floors. Eventually, they'd open us up and download what they needed, or upload something worse. They didn't want me to leave, but they didn't try to stop me either, like they were waiting to see if I'd make it on my own. That was the real test. There was a breach in level B9. I don't know what caused it. All I know is the alarms weren't loud, just a low tone pulsing through the floor. A flicker in the lights, and the door to my room unlatched with a soft hiss. I didn't wait. I ran. Through half-lit corridors where shadows pulsed like they were breathing, past open labs filled with things in glass cylinders that twitched at the edge of perception. I passed a room with no floor, just blackness below, and chains hanging from the ceiling, still swinging like something had just let go. When I reached the upper levels, the smell changed again. Smoke, rubber, burnt hair. One hallway was scorched clean, like a flamethrower had sterilized it. Pieces of hazmat suits melted to the walls. One still had a hand in it. Near the loading dock, I saw Chris again. At least, I think it was Chris. His jaw was missing, but his eyes were clear. He looked at me and started tapping his fingers against the wall. 5 taps. Pause. 3 taps. Pause. 2. Over and over. I recognized the pattern. It was from the first video. The heartbeat rhythm right before the woman split open. I didn't stop to help him. I found a van. No keys. But the ignition was torn open already. I don't know how I got it started. Just muscle memory and panic. I drove until I ran out of gas in Arizona. I broke into a gas station bathroom and stayed there for 12 hours. The thing inside me went quiet during the drive. I think the breach weakened it. Or maybe it was hiding. It's been 3 weeks since then. Now, here's why I'm posting this. Yesterday, I woke up, and there was a new note under my pillow. No one had been in my room. Nothing on the cameras. Just a sticky note, yellowed at the edges. In block letters, record complete, ready for extraction. Below that, a location. Coordinates again. This time, not in Nevada. It's in my city. I think they're done studying me. I think they're ready to upload something new. And I think this post, this story, isn't just for you to read. It's part of the protocol. If you've made it this far, if you're still reading, then you've been evaluated. They're watching how long you last. They're watching what you remember. And if you felt anything move behind your eyes while reading this, if your stomach twisted, or your skin started to itch in weird patterns, then you've been tagged, same way I was. There is no file. You are the file now. God help you if it opens.